South Africa's largest telecommunication group and, of course, the largest on the African continent, MTN Group, says it may list its shares on the Nigerian Stock Exchange once it resolves a disputed $3.9 billion fine with the Nigerian authorities. And Barclays Bank in Kenya says the decision by the parent body to sell its Africa businesses will not lead to job cuts in East Africa. Plus, gold prices surged almost 10% in February. That's the highest monthly growth in 4 years. We welcome our viewers in Nigeria and around the world. Thanks for joining us. It's Thursday, the 3rd of March. Let's get Business Incorporated running for the next 30 minutes. I am Bosin Mofai. Let's start with South Africa, where the MTN Group says it will list its Nigerian units on the stock exchange in Lagos once the company resolves its disputed $3.9 billion fine with the regulatory authorities. MTN also says it has set aside 9.3 billion rand, that's about $600 million, to cover a potential settlement of a fine imposed by the Nigerian authorities last year for failing to cut off unregistered SIM card users. The company posted a more than 50% drop in 2015 annual profit. Headline earnings per share came in at 746 cents in the year to end December 2015, compared with 1,536 cents a year earlier. South Africa's President Jacob Zuma is, however, scheduled to visit Nigeria next week with talks with Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari on the MTN matter and other issues. Right now, we're looking at the European markets being a very topsy-turvy day. We're looking at stocks, but earnings are part of the headlines as we get more numbers from the fourth quarter of 2015. Meanwhile, China is set to roll out a new 5-year development plans. How's the market reacting and looking into this development starting to take place for the world's #1 emerging economy? Let's get over to the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. We're bringing live now into the conversation Conrad Boston, who is a financial correspondent standing there for Channels Television in Frankfurt. Good afternoon to you, Conrad. Let's start with the earnings. A lot of raft of numbers we're getting from the different companies. Fill us in, what's the trend?
Bosun, the trend is positive. Traders have to digest more positive earnings reports than negative ones. That is a gathering that I personally made here today, looking at all these earnings reports. There are a few negative exceptions. It's worth looking at one of them. Evonik, the second largest German chemicals maker, shows with its earnings report that not only the prices for basic commodities have come under pressure last year, but also the prices for more developed chemicals like amino acids, something you need, for example, to feed animals. Evonik says that its markets have deteriorated further at the turn of the year, and the outlook for this year is more hesitant than last year's, and that is very negative news, dragging on the stock price for Evonik. It's down 12% today. Now that was the negative exception, the big negative exception today. From the car parts and tire maker Continental, we got a strong earnings report, just as of the one from Adidas, the sports good maker, which looked very good. And also the AIB, Allied Irish Bank from Ireland, came in with a good and positive earnings report and outlook. And remember, this was a bank that had to be saved by the Irish taxpayers. Now it's about to pay back the rest of the outstanding debt of the Irish government. All this positive news fueling demand for single stocks. The broad market is not so much demanded today.
Yes, Conrad, one of the corporate news that's hitting the wires is also about Volkswagen's subsidiary, Audi, reporting sales and earnings for 2015. What are you driving? How are investors driving these earnings?
You know, Boston, Audi said that its operating profit fell 6.1% in 2015 because of costs related to Dieselgate, which is, as you know, the tabloid's name for the emissions cheating scandal. The amount of costs so far for Audi was $228 million. euros. This is a hint, another hint. People I talk to say that the amount of money that Volkswagen has set aside so far for the costs related to this scandal will probably not be enough. Remember, Volkswagen postponed the publication of its full year result to the end of April because it said it's so difficult to calculate the amount of money that's going to be spent because of this scandal. 6.7 billion euros is the amount that Volkswagen Group has set aside so far. Everyone on the market is at the moment waiting how much it will be at the end of April.
Okay, let's bring in the dragon into the conversation. China. The National People's Congress starts its next session on Saturday. The 5-year rolling plan, a roadmap for China's economic development. What is expected to be released after the meeting? What are people saying about this new 5-year rolling plan? With this plan, show us a new beginning for China. We haven't seen the slowdown from around 10% in GDP to around 7%. Will this document say this is a new beginning for China and we just have to deal with a China that is strong but slightly sluggish than it was?
Well, everyone on the markets, I would say, is really hoping for that the new 5-year plan will bring clear and comprehensive information for how China wants to tackle its economic problems, how it wants to tackle that strategy shift from a very manufacturing-based economy to a more service-oriented economy. There are more skeptical remarks ahead of the start of this meeting. We already reported here on Channels TV that Moody's, the rating agency, is negative. The experts of Moody's think that the authorities in China might be lacking the capacity to implement reforms. That is going to be a major event for people on the markets worldwide. And by the way, it's also one reason why here on the stock market today in Germany, investors are a bit hesitant to buy, to get it back into the broad market after 2 years of gains, that is.
Okay. When the document is out, I'm sure we'll all have enough time to digest it.
2 days of gains, sorry.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Conrad. Let's leave it at that for now. Due to time. We appreciate that from Frankfurt Stock Exchange, GWTV financial correspondent for Channels Television. We'll talk about the bullish bullion after the break. Statistics from the World Gold Council showing prices surging almost 10%. We're hitting the time of a rally for the bullion. What do you hold after the break?